Hello everybody, Max with A1 Website Pro, and this is what you're going to learn how to do in this particular video tutorial. You can learn how to back up your website in PHP. Now I'm on a Windows server here, so the script will do some checks. We need to have exec enabled in our PHP configuration. This is a normal thing, so it should be enabled, but I performed this little check. If you don't have it, there's another notice that'll come up here, and it'll try to help you get exe enabled. Okay, so I'm going to X that out. This script will back up the database and files located on Linux and Windows servers. It will also do other servers, but I tested it on Linux and Windows. So this backs up the database, and it'll also detect your server type. Okay, backs up files recursively on Linux and Windows, so you get all your files. So you get your folders, but you get your folders and files within the folders. So that's what recursively means. These files will be available for download after you run the script. Now, after you run the script and you download your backup file, you must delete this file. And your backup does it file so no one else can download it. So there's a lot of security issues out there. You don't want anybody else getting your data. All right. So, and also you want to delete this particular file. I named it test.php, but I'm giving it to you guys as backup.php. Now the next thing we're going to do is enter the information to perform the backup. Now the first thing that I ask, now this particular script also detects if you're running a WordPress or not, okay? Now, the only thing that it's looking for is the WP config file. If it sees that there's a WP config file, it takes the information from your WP config and automatically puts in the username, database name, the password, and so on and so forth. Now, only on Windows servers do you have to provide a path to your MySQL dump.exe. Okay, so that's what this particular thing is here. Now, the reason why I didn't put it in automatically is because it's different on each Windows server. So you'll have to find wherever this MySQL dump.exe path is and put it in there. At the top here, as developers, a lot of times we'll just go in and we'll just back up the WP content. Sometimes we'll even just go in there and back up the themes, plugins, and uploads. But that's what the WP content consists of when we're moving to a new server. For time's sake, I'm only going to back up the WP admin. Now you could, with this script, back up everything, but for time's sake, I'm just going to back up the WP admin directory. Here's my database name. It was automatically brought in. Here's the database username. It was automatically brought in. My password's automatically brought in. Here's the host. That's automatically brought in from the WP config file. Now you can change the name of your backup. You can say BK, but to have it make sense, I'm just going to type in backup. And here's a little security check. So, if you forget and you leave this script on your server, which you should never do, you have a little security check here. All right, and here I have some troubleshooting possible issues. But then what you want to do is click Create Backup, and you'll get a notification, backup being performed. Give it some time if it's a large website. Now you're going to be, you'll see this here, where you could download your backup. So you just click on Download Your Backup, and it'll come up and notice in my Downloads folder, it's asking me to save my backup folder. So I'll click Save. And I'll come down here and I'll select Show in Folder. You can see here that this is the backup created on the server. If I go to my downloads, I double click this and open it up. You can see here I have everything in the WP admin folder, but I got something new in there too, and that's the data. And if I double click this and open it up, I want to make sure that this ain't empty, that this actually contains my information. And voila, it does. I have all my information for the Capsule USA website. Now, let me go back one here. Let me go back two. Now, this backup And the test file I need to get rid of because of the fact that they are on the server and anybody could go in here and see this. So all we have to do is click delete backup.zip, and that will remove the backup.zip file, but also removes this file. And you'll get a notification your backup file is removed, and so is this one. Okay. And if we refresh this page, it should be gone. And when you hit refresh, it's going to ask you to conform the resubmission. You do. And just to make sure it's gone, it's going to take you to your 404 page, which says that there's nothing there. Okay, so if you're happy with that, you could go to the website and get this script if you like, or you can stay here and I'm going to show you in detail what I did to create this script and what makes it work. All right, so without further ado, let's get started here and we'll go over the code. Okay, one more thing. So we did it on a Windows server. Let's see what it'll do on a Linux server. So I'm going to just copy this entire code, and I'm going to come over here to another website that I own, Google Website Pro, and we're in here. I'm going to right-click, click New File, and we'll call this backup.php, like so. And let me just go ahead and paste that entire code in there and then save it. So let's bring up Google Website Pro. You can see that it's just a WordPress. And if I right click and I type in, or not right click, if I type it at the end, backup.php right here, it should load up for me. And so it performs the exec check to make sure that it's available. So I could disregard that notice. And notice here, everything, it senses that it's a WordPress and it's on a Linux server. See, and here's my database information. The only thing I really have to do is enter the security check, which will be number 7. I'm going to go ahead and back up everything on this test so you could see how it works. And just for over here, we should be able to see backup.zip appear whenever we do everything. Now notice the subfolders, Air, Harley, Stats, WP Admin, Content, and Includes. If I come up here to the directory, you can see that I have all those folders available, but we're just going to say backup everything in this particular web. And let's go ahead and click Create Backup. And we'll get a notification saying the backup is being performed. And there it is, it's done. It's a very fast server. So I could click download the backup first. And here in my downloads, I already have a backup in there. So this is going to be backup 1 in parentheses. And now it looks like it's going to take a couple seconds to download. The website is about 21 megabytes, maybe somewhere around there. Just let it go ahead and do its thing. And we'll click Show in Folder. Go to the folders, downloads, and here's the backup one with the parentheses. We'll go ahead and double click that, open it. We can see here that we have all of the directories, and even inside the directories, we could see that it was all recursive. If we go to Uploads, 2021, we can see the images here for November. Okay, that one's empty. No images uploaded in November. Or December. Okay. Let's go to Uploads 2022. See if anything was uploaded in January. Okay, so there's nothing in there because it's like a new site. But you could see here in the backup, we have all of our files and folders that we need. Okay. The other thing to notice that we have here is the data.sql, so you could actually take this and transport it to another server or just keep a backup. All right. So that's how easy it is to have the backup. Now, the one thing that you want to be sure of is you delete the backup.zip. And let me go ahead and show you in my folders. Let me close web and then open it up. Here we have the backup.zip and the backup.php. Both of these things should disappear whenever I click delete backup.zip. And we'll get a notification your backup is removed. Also, this file is deleted. Please refresh this page and it should be gone. So let's go ahead and refresh this page. Click continue and we see nothing is here. Okay. And if we look at our FTP, we'll go ahead and close and then reopen the web. We can see that backup.zip and backup.php is indeed gone. All right. So let's go over this code and let's see what's making this work. Okay, for our setup here, I have another website in my XAMPP server under htdocs called Cheap Pins. And basically, as you can see, it's another WordPress. And so this is what it looks like on the front end. I just have, it's a broken apart WordPress, but it doesn't matter for this particular demonstration. Here I have the Cheap Pins database. And then right here, I'm going to use this. Notice this is the Capsule USA. So I could just show you guys how I'm coding this. And in Cheap Pins, we're going to create a file called backup.php. And let me show you that right here. Backup.php. And this is where I'm going to bring the code over a piece at a time and show you guys what's doing what in this particular script right here. Okay, so let's go to Cheap Pins and backup.php, and right now you can see it is just blank. So we're going to bring that over a little piece at a time, starting with the blank screen. And let me go ahead and grab this first piece of PHP code. Now I'm going to be using sessions in here, and I'll tell you what they are whenever we get to them. But in order to use a session, we have to start every page with session start. If we don't put session start up here, it just simply won't work. All right. And we actually never use session destroy, but it's actually a pretty good habit to get into. The other thing that I want to do, and you should probably get in a habit of doing, is make sure that if you have any errors, they're all displayed. And that's what these 3 lines of code do. They report all my PHP errors. The next thing that I do is I start with a variable called server, and I set it to empty. Because whenever we start using the post variables, submitting post variables, there's a variable in there called server that I just want to be empty at first. Finally, we need to get a directory path in order to delete files. In the example, we deleted this particular file, the backup.php, but we also deleted the backup.zip. And so in order to do that, we have to be able to get the direct path. And you know what, I'll show you right now where we're at. If I type in echo, and we'll just say path to directory, $ path to directory, and I save this file. Let's go ahead and go to the site, and I'll refresh, and you can see that it gives me the exact location of where we're at. Okay. Now I don't need this immediately, but I will need it in the future whenever I'm deleting the files, the backup.zip file. Okay, then I'm going to start off with a my doc type HTML head tag. Let me just go ahead and bring this whole head tag in so I can show you what's going on here. Okay, so doc type HTML, and I start with the head tag and I give it the title of website backup with PHP. Now here's a couple CDNs that I'm using for Bootstrap 5. Here I have the style sheet that I'm bringing in on line 14. Line 15 is the jQuery code. And then number 16 is the bootstrap JavaScript. Okay. And then I close the head tag and I begin the body container. Let me go ahead and close the body container. And let me go and close out the HTML. So then that way things make sense. We're going to start going inside the body container here. And we're going to start off with some PHP. Now you'll notice whenever we go into the script, this first exe is enabled in your PHP configuration, so you're good to go. Okay, so this is what this next script is going to be doing. And we'll go ahead and paste that in right there. So we see if the exec function exists. If it exists, we're going to give an alert, and this alert, these classes are operating off of this style sheet up here. Okay, so the alert is going to say, just what it said. Exe is enabled in your PHP configuration, so you're good to go. And they could go ahead and dismiss this notice, and this is the little button tag to dismiss the notice, as you can see right here. So when you click it, it can disappear. Okay. All right. So else, if the exec function exists, we're going to be like, okay, yeah, you're okay, you're good to go. Else, if it does not exist, we're going to help them out. We're going to say, hey, listen, you need to contact your host and have them enable your exe and your PHP configuration. And if you need help, you could go to this link right here, visit this post, and then we'll give them the option to delete that. Okay. So let me go ahead and close out the PHP tag before I forget. We're going to go inside here and bring in some more PHP. I'll show you what I'm putting on top here. So this is to delete the backup file in this page. This is the post variables. Okay, so I have in the submission button, in order to delete the backup file, we're going to say if is set the D file, and we're going to grab the DEL file. That would be the name of whatever the backup file is. Because you notice, if you look at the page here, we actually give them the option to change the name of backup. They could say BKK or BK, but we'll just leave it as backup. So if they change that, that needs to be a working variable that we can, work with. So we actually save that in a post variable called DEL file, and that'd be the file name of whatever we're going to delete. Here we actually get the current page name. So if you're wondering what this does, let me go ahead and click copy. And right here, I'm just going to say echo. Actually, let me paste it in here, and then I will echo this variable. Let me save that and bring it up here. Refresh. Now see here, I get backup.php, which is the name of this page. And here we're getting the path to the page. So all I would have to do is concatenate that on the end so we can delete this particular page. Okay, so that's what that does right there. But we're looking if there's a variable set, and then what we want to do is unlink. Notice the path directory, what we got up here, using the getCwd function in PHP. And then we use the / file name, and we use the unlink function. So this basically gets rid of the backup.zip, and then we echo out an alert, a success alert. It says your backup file is removed. Also, this file is deleted. Refresh this page and see that it's gone. And then I have a little style tag that I put in here called hide this, a class of hide this, display of none, and I'll show you that further on down. But notice we're also unlinking the path to the directory, which is the current page, which is the backup.php, or whatever they named it, the current page. And then finally, I'm just going to let the script die. Okay, I'm going to stop everything. Now notice that this class of alert, this stuff has to be in here. The style sheet has to be in this class, otherwise this won't execute. This will not show you that formatted alert. Okay, so that's why this has to be up here, because we are killing the script right here on line 34. Now if we put this stuff above this script stuff, then you wouldn't have any of the formatting. All right, so these are post variables that we use in this particular program. Now we're going to close out our PHP tag after our PHP tag, and we're going to come in here, and you'll notice whenever you're looking at the website, you'll see my little icon here with A1 Website Pro, and let me show you how that's coming in with the Bootstrap 5. I'll come in after the P tag, just like so. And I'm going to hit Control S because we're saving this backup in the cheat pins directory. But there's a figure tag that they have, and a class of figure, and that's where we get the, well, I started out with the anchor link going to this particular post that we're talking about. Here's the image source. You can see that's coming from A1 Website Pro, my logo. I gave it a width of 50. Now notice this class, figure, image, image fluid, rounded, and then we could also give it an alternate, whatever, alternate text. Website backup script, okay. And then the figure caption is a1websitepro.com, and finally we close out that tag, okay. Now the next piece of information that we're going to work with is that style tag where I showed you we had, the hide this. So let me copy this from this one and I'll paste this in here. Now there's figure where we were just working with. Now notice I start out with this div class called hide this, and I have all this information in this div called hide this. Okay, but notice that the hide this is in a post variable. So it's not going to hide this unless this stuff is showing, unless this stuff has been submitted, okay? So that's what that div is all about there. So let me go ahead and save. Let's look at the website here, the one we're working on. Refresh, okay, it's coming right along. I could get rid of this up here. I don't need to be echoing out that path. So let me do that real quick. We already know that we have that. And let me refresh the page. Now notice website backup in PHP. This script will back up the database on the files on Linux and Windows servers. And then I have kind of like an ordered list in Bootstrap 5 that gives the user some information on how to use this script. Okay, and that's what that's all about right there. And this is the structure on how that's done. In Bootstrap 5, you have the ordered list class, list group numbered, and that way it'll number each one of these list items. Okay. Okay, onward. We're going to go back into PHP, and this particular time we're going to check to see if this is going to be a WordPress that we're working on. Let me go ahead and close out the PHP tag. So we're going to check to see if it's a WordPress. We're going to set a file name variable to wp-config. Make sure that I don't have file name up anywhere else. Okay, I do have it in here, but it doesn't matter because it's in a post file. But just for safety's sake, I'll give it 2e's file name. This is basically where we're going to check to see if it's a WordPress. And so we set a variable to a file name, which is wp-config.php, because we know that every WordPress has a wp-config.php. So we use the PHP function if file exists, the file name, if this exists, then we're going to go grab the wp-config.php. And what are we going to get? What information are we going to get from that? Well, we're going to get the database name stored in a variable called dbName. We're going to get database user stored in a variable called dbUser. Same with the password and the host. And then we're going to go ahead and let the user know, hey, guess what? Since this is a WordPress database, your information is entered automatically in the form below. If it is wrong, please change according to your needs. Okay? Else, that means if it's not a WordPress, we're just going to let them know, hey, listen, you need to enter your database information below. And then finally, we're going to end the check. So let's go ahead and save. Since we know that this particular application is a WordPress database, we'll go ahead and refresh. So it should say, hey, guess what? You got a WordPress. All right, so, and then there we go. There's our little alert letting us know that it's WordPress. So the information below will be entered automatically. And so let's show you how that's done. Well, let's go on to what the next thing is. All right, so we're gonna, I created a function here to delete the backup file. And let me just show you why I put this next. This is a little form that I created, and I created a function called file downloads, and I just put var for variable. And basically, we know that this is going to be the backup name, the backup.zip or whatever. And I'm having it return an alert, and the var is the anchor link is going to backup.zip. Okay, so, and this is where we create the button where they're downloading the backup. Okay, now after they download that backup, you notice I ended my anchor link. Now I start a form tag. Okay, and this form, the method is post, the action is the self. You actually don't even need this at all, because whenever you have a form post, and I just put that in there because I've been programming forever. That's the way we used to do it. And then I have an input type of hidden. Now notice the del file. Where have we seen that before? Well, if we go to the top here, notice this is where we're deleting the backup file, the del file. So let's go down here. The name of it's del, so that's going to be our post variable. And the value is going to be the name of whatever they named their backup. If it's backup.zip, it'll be backup.zip. If it's bk.zip or whatever. Finally, I created a button, and I'm using Bootstrap 5 here, button warning, and this type of button is submit. Now notice the name, D file. Where have you seen that before? Well, if you scroll up here, if is set post D file. So we're seeing if that button is set, we're going to have this page delete the backup file and also this page itself. Okay, so delete and then var, which would be backup.zip. I closed out the button, I closed out the form, and I closed out the alert. All right, so that's what I did on that particular function. All right, now this next one is the big one. Now I should do the form first, but we're going to kind of work backwards here, because I want to show you guys all the steps that I've done to accomplish this, to create this little script. Now, you notice I don't have any security checks, and I figured if somebody is putting this on their server just to create a backup and we're deleting it right away, why do all the security checks? Now, you can if you want to. You can go get the HTML entities, escapes, and stuff like that, but I didn't think it was necessary. So here we're seeing if is set submit, okay? That would be the name submit, not the type submit. It would be a name called submit in the form below this. Because remember, whenever you submit a form, it goes to the top of the page and reads it from top down, left to right, okay? So here we're getting a post variable called directory. Here we're getting a post variable server type, the MySQL path, DB name, uname, DB password. And you'll notice here on line 87, if DB password, if it's just a space, I'm just going to take that space out, okay? And the reason why I did this is because if you're on a local host and you're trying to test this out like we are on a local host, and you don't have a password in your database in your MySQL, it's just nothing. Well, this particular form does form validation, and I'll show it to you here in a little bit after we get the form up. And it won't let you submit the form without putting something in there. And so that's why I did this little solution just to make it happen. Here's the database host, which would be localhost. This would be whatever the name is, the BK name. All right. Now this, what did I do right here? I added the .zip file extension on this, and the reason why is I didn't want them to have to remember to put .zip in the form. So if they put BK and they forgot to put .zip, so I just made a .zip on there. Now, if they did put .zip, it wouldn't matter because it would just be .zip. Okay, so that's why I made this BK name. I just added a .zip onto it, a file extension, so that it could download and the browser would know what to do. This particular one is the security question. 5 plus 5, 3 plus 3, generated with random numbers, and then I get the total number from the session variable. Remember when I told you that I use sessions to capture the random number? Otherwise, the security question wouldn't be right, and that's why we're using session at the very top here, session start. Okay, no big deal really. Now, if the total number is not equal to the spam question, all right, I'm going to echo out, alert danger, so security check question answered wrong. And then I'm going to kill the script, let it die. Okay. Now you could also put in some more security. You can actually delete this script if they don't answer the thing right. So, basically right here you could, put more security functions. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next one. This is where we're trying to get the server type. I'm going to bring this in just one piece for right now. Okay, the first thing I'm going to check to is I'm going to see if the server type, this server type is Windows. And if it's Windows, I'm going to do something here, else if the server type is, let's see here, any other one, which would be a Linux or there's Unix, Mac. We'll do all those other things are going to do the exact same thing. The only thing that we have to do anything special with is Windows. Okay. So we will do if the server is Windows, we're going to do something. Else, if it's anything else, if it's Linux, Unix, or whatever, we're going to do something else. Okay, and that's why we're getting this. This is how we're detecting the server type. Okay, So that's it in a nutshell, but there's a lot going in here, and I just wanted to show you guys the syntax of what we're going to be doing here. So let me go ahead and copy this great big long ass code. We'll be putting it in here. Okay, so let me paste something in here. And you can see that's a lot of code. But if the server type is Windows, okay, and I put some more comments in here for you guys so that whenever you're working with this code and changing it to whatever the hell you want, you have to put the entire path to the MySQL dump.exe. And then here's my local path to use MySQL dump. Okay, and then backup database, that's what we're going to start with, and we go with this exec function. Notice MySQL path. Okay, that's the first thing that we're grabbing, and that would be the the path right here for my sham server. Okay, so I'm getting my path from that variable. Then the next thing is we get the username, the database username from that post variable, then the password, then the host, and then the database name and the caret, and we're going to store that into a data.sql. Okay, so that is the exec path that we're using right there. Okay, so that's the syntax. Now, notice here, if the directory is not equal to period slash means everything, all right, in your command line. But if they're not, the reason why I had to do this particular command is because if they decided to just zip everything up in WP admin or WP includes or WP content, you know, or whatever type of content management system that they're using, I want to store the data.sql in that particular zip file. Okay, so the data.sql is on will be stored on the main folder. So this will actually move data.sql to whatever directory that they're creating the backup. Okay, so then it gets zipped up with the backup.zip. Okay, that's how that works. So that's why I have this little statement here. Okay, so what we want to do is we get the real path of the directory, the root path. Now, of course, the directory is whatever one that they choose, WP admin, WP includes, WP content. Okay, and they store that in the root path. And this is where we create the new zip archive. And here we use their name. If they chose backup.zip or bk.zip or whatever, we actually create that file right here. And if there's one there, we overwrite it. And now we start our recursive directory iterator by using these PHP functions. And then we go into our for each loop, file as name to file. And so there we go. We'll skip the directories. They'll be added automatically. Get real and relative paths for the current file. That's what we do here. And then we use the relative path with substring, file path, string length, root path +1, add current file to the archive. And that's what we do this recursively. And then finally, we'll close the zip. Okay. Now, what this will do at the top here, this will create the data.sql file, and it'll rename it and put it in the directory, and then put it in there. Okay, this rename will move or copy it and put it in there. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that after we did that we could remove the data.sql from the main directory. So if the directory selected was everything, I want to delete the data.sql. All right. So if we chose, so for example, let me go here just to show you what's going on. And we'll go ahead and do the Capsule USA backup. And I'm going to back up everything in Capsule USA. And there's my MySQL. Let's do the security check. I will go ahead and leave it backup.zip. Go ahead and let that create the backup. In the meantime, I will get the folders up here for cheat pins, or Capsule USA rather. Now, there's a data file that's created, but then this data file needs deleted after it's been created. And then I want everything in the backup.zip file. So let's see if it does it. It looks like it's still working on it. So let's keep this over here. Okay, now we see that the data.sql that was here is gone. But if we double click in the backup, we could see that we have our data.sql there. Okay? So it's included in the backup. And then we could just make sure that we delete the backup. But I'm just going to delete it here on the folders because we're probably going to do this a couple more times. So let me go ahead and refresh this page and continue on with the explanation of our scripts. Okay, so I showed you why we're unlinking or deleting that particular data.sql if the directory is selected to everything. Okay, so now we're going to echo the function that I created called file downloads bk name. So if we go up here back to the function, you can see the function, and down there it's bk name, but this is the create function creation where I'm taking the var, which would be bk name, and I already explained this to you earlier. All right, so let's go on, and for the post, let's go ahead and create the form, and this is going to be quite entailed. Let's go ahead and talk about determining the operator system. Okay, so now we're creating our form. I start with the echo form method of post. Action is to self. Class, this is from our Bootstrap 5. Needs validation, no validate. Okay. Now these directories, I want to get the directories wherever this file is located. I want to get all the directories, whatever's included in there. So then that way, if they want to choose, like if they're in WordPress and they just want to back up the WP content, they can. And that's what this is all about right now. I'm getting the current directory, and then I'm getting the directories within this directory. Okay. And then I'm starting out with a class, a form floating class, and I'm using the select option. And with that, I do have the option to select everything, and notice that's that period slash that we use in the command line. Okay, and then I use get everything in current directory, and then that'll echo out whatever the current directory is, public HTML or web or whatever. Now I want to have an option to select the directories inside, like the WP config. So I start this for each loop, and I use the array filter glob, grabbing all the directories, as a new var, new variable, and I have those options come out. Now let me just go ahead and click save here. And so before I get too far, let me go ahead and click enter. We got an unexpected error, and that's what I thought was going to happen. 183. Let me go ahead, because I don't have everything closed out. Test. All right. Let's see if that takes care of it. If it doesn't, I will have to show you some other way. Okay, there we go. So here we go. Pick a directory to zip. Everything in cheat pins, WP admin, WP content. So this is everything. This is how we can choose. Okay. And that's what that particular variable will do for you. Now I'm going to get rid of this thing because I don't want to get confused whenever I paste more of the code on down there for you guys. But that's what this for each loop is doing for us. This is the end of the select tag. And this is the label. It's a floating label. It says pick directory to zip. And we see that in right here, the little pick directory to zip. Okay. Now, that's the end of the directories. Now we're going to get the operating system. And we use this PHP function, PHP OS family. It's actually kind of new. So if the PHP OS family is Windows, we're going to echo this, which is, this is a Windows server, so you will have to enter the full path of your MySQL dump. And that we did that in a div class of form floating. Okay, this next one, we said, enter your path. So this is actually going to be like a hint. So please enter the path to your MySQL dump. And notice this is an input type. Okay. So let me go ahead and click save. Let me go ahead and bring up right here, path to MySQL. So this is an input where they need to include the path to their MySQL dump.exe if they're on a Windows server. Okay, but that's how we can determine what it is. Now, if it's a Linux, we don't have to worry about it. We just have an input type, just letting them know that they're on a Linux server, a BSD server, Darwin server, Solaris, or and even if it's unknown, we're just going to follow the Linux protocol for the rest of them. Okay. So that's what that is. We only need this particular input additionally on the Windows. Okay, we don't need this on any other system because Windows is so special. Okay, let's go on to more of these form items. And this should take us down to the end of the PHP, this particular one. Let me go ahead and click paste. We'll paste that in there. So we already got the operating system. This is the end of getting the operating system and setting out our different messages there. Now we're going to do some other inputs. We're going to grab the database name. And if it's a WordPress, we're going to use this variable just to automatically throw it in there. Okay, so they don't have to enter it. So that's where we're getting this DB name at. If you go to the top here, not there, right up here, if the file includes a WP config file, we're going to include that file and we're going to steal this stuff. Okay? And that's how we're putting the stuff into these form items. Now notice the name, DB name. Then we got DB user. Well, let's see here. DBU name. Okay, so that'd be a database username. I usually keep it different, but this works, so okay, we'll just keep it that way. DB pass, DB pass, DB host, DB host. Usually I make these the exact same, but for some reason I did not do that. Okay, now down here, what we're doing is we're putting a text input of BK name. And that's where they can name their own backup. Like if they want to call it xyz.zip, they can. Okay, so that's why they can change the name for the backup if they wish. And let me just go ahead and click save right here and walk you down to where we're at there. Let me refresh this page. All right, so right here is where we're at, where they could change. They could change it to XYZ if they wish. Okay. Now notice the next one is the security check. So this is where I pick a random number anywhere between 5 and 15. And I store it in a session variable called rand. I take this session variable and then I store it into a variable called rnum, and then I divide it by 2. And that'll give me my total. All right, and so this is how I did the security checks without going to Google. I mean, you could go to Google and do all that stuff if you wish, but I just wanted to do something simple that somebody go ahead that they can enter their information. So this security check is TOT plus DOT equals what? And we know that's already stored in this session variable, so that whenever we refresh the page, we'll have it. I didn't have to do it this way. I could have did it a different way, but this is the way I did it. All right. So let's show you what that does right here. Security check 3.5 by 3.5. Now notice whenever I refresh the page, it'll say something different. Not 3.5, it'll say something different here. Let's see what it'll say. 2.5. Okay. So each time it'll do something different. And then you just have to put the correct answer there, otherwise it will fail. Let's go on to the next thing, shall we? And then we have this button. I'm using the class of btn-primary to give it that blue button. The type is submit. The name is submit. Where have we seen that before? Clear at the top. But here's something new. On click, show alert. And then create backup, and then this is the end of our form. So on click, we're going to show the alert. I'll show you where this is further down in the code. Here's the alert of danger, backup being performed. Give it some time if this is a large website. Now notice I have an ID of hide on this, okay? These two are going to kind of work together, this on click, show alert, and the ID of hide, because I'm going to use a little JavaScript to make that happen. All right, let me go ahead and we're going to start getting into the footer down here. We're getting to the end, guys. Thank you for your patience. Let me go ahead and copy this. Start in line 195. We'll paste it in there, go back up to 195, and go over all this fantastic, wonderful information. All right, so I'm starting my footer tag, and I give and then I'm going to have another div class of card, and that's where I'm going to give them some like troubleshooting ideas, and some possible issues. For example, this script relies on the exec command enabled in PHP. If you make sure that you enable it by contacting your host. If not, order a hosting from us at A1 Website Pro. And then I'm also letting them know on a Windows server, you need to know the path to the MySQL dump. And then thirdly, if something does not look right, did you put this file in the right directory? You should see that you should place this file in your public directory, and then I have a link going back so that they can see the video. Okay. Down here is the style tag. On the form, on Bootstrap 5, they don't put any type of design or characteristics around the form. And you notice here it was just kind of dead. It kind of went with everything else. And so let me refresh the page. I'll show you what I did. See how I put that little line, put a little shadow, just, made it look a little bit more better, I guess, if that's a word. So that's what we did. And then here's your the card down there. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me show you what's going on down here at the bottom with these hide tags. So the form, I put a solid 1 pixel 666 color, put a box shadow on, gave it some padding and a margin. The hide, I put display none. Position fixed, top 0, left 0, so it would be in the top left, the width 100, text align center, font weight bold. Okay, so that's this particular alert that you see right here. It doesn't show, you can't see it whenever you first see it, but whenever you click that backup button, that's whenever it'll pop up, because we're hiding it with CSS. Now on click, we're going to show that alert, and we're using a little bit of JavaScript right here. Show alert, document, get element by ID, hide, and then we're going to display that as a block. And when it's displayed as a block, what's it going to do? It's going to change display none to display block, and the position is going to be fixed, and it's going to be top center of the particular web page. Okay. These scripts down here is all about validation. Okay, so that's what this particular script does, is it validates, it'll make sure that you put something in each one. I'm not going to go over that one in detail, you can do it yourself. So anyway, if I click create backup, you could see that, oh, hey, you got to do all this stuff here, you missed something. Okay, so, and then this backup being performed, that actually shouldn't show up, but I don't care right now. Okay, so here's Cheatpens. We're on a Windows server, so let's go ahead and put in our MySQL dump, our database password, and let's go ahead and answer our security question correctly and click create backup. And we're actually backing up everything in Cheatpens. Go ahead and get a folder up here for Cheatpens. Double click that. We could see that it created the data.sql file already. I'll go ahead and pause the video just in case it takes a long time. Okay, now this was an extremely large website. I'm actually kind of glad it's done this. The maximum execution time of 120 seconds exceeded. So this particular website would be too big unless we increase the execution time for this particular website. So let me go ahead and increase the time. Let's bring up our script. And right at the top of our backup script, right after the session variable, we want to add something. And this is what we want to add. Set time limit 0. And those of you in programming, 0 means unlimited. Okay. So let's go ahead and refresh this page. I'll make sure that I have that on the script you guys download, of course. Enter database password, and security check is going to be 8. And let's try it again. The backup is being performed. Let it go. I will pause the video so you don't have to suffer through this. Okay, now this literally took about 5 minutes to back up because this is an extremely large website. I'm not going to click the download backup, but I will bring up the file so that you could see, you know, it took the data.sql and put it in the backup. But look at that, 159 megabytes. So if we double click and go into this backup file, it'll do its thing here. Okay, I paused the video. It even took a minute to open it. You can see the data.sql file is in there. So it got all that information. But if you could see that the SQL file alone is 14 megabytes. So, but anyway, that's it. That's how it works. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please don't hesitate to shoot me a message. I will see you guys in the next video tutorial. Please like, share, and subscribe. I know this has been a long one, but I hope that you've been able to take something away from it. And I'll see you in the next one.